I'm Bruce Matson. We're going to talk about 6 tight end targets that we can trade for in Dynasty Fantasy Football that can help you rebuild, restore, or dominate your Dynasty leagues. But before we do that, make sure you tap that like button, smash that subscribe button so you don't miss any of this Dynasty Fantasy Football content going forward. But we're going to start this off with an expensive player for your bougie Dynasty Fantasy Football managers out there who want those top tier assets. We're going with a cheaper tight end prospect who's on the upper echelon here that will get you production. And we're looking at TJ Hockenson from the Minnesota Vikings. Right now he's being drafted as the 56th player overall in the tight end 5 in Dynasty League Football's ADP right now. He turns 26 in July. Ever since the Vikings traded for him earlier this year, he has been a consistent producer. 7 tight end 1 weeks in 9 games with the team. 6 games with double-digit fantasy points. He was the tight end 2 during that period when he was with the Vikings throughout the rest of the season and averaged 14.1 PPR fantasy points per game, and then the workload was solid. Had a 23.1% target share, had 6 targets or more in every single game, and averaged 71 air yards per game. So he's getting the volume we wanted, and he was getting targeted downfield, which equates to fantasy production over time. Looking at the Dynasty Trade Analyzer over at DynastyLeagueFootball.com, he is being valued as a late first in 1 QB leagues, which is very important because that means he's valuable. He holds some value there. He's expensive. You're going to have to pay a little bit to get him. However, you're going to get some results as well. You got a tight end who's got a lot of years in front of him. He's in a good situation. Former first-round pick, so that makes sense. Some players that you can trade for 1-for-1. Dameon Pierce, Justin Fields, Brandon Ayuk. So there's some options to go after here. Again, use that as a gauge. Around the late first-round rookie pick, maybe a little bit more in actual leagues. So use that as a gauge. Find players around that range to use that as your currency to try and get TJ Hockenson. Say you're not bougie, you're more Oscar the Grouch, you like the dumpster dive for your players. I got a cheap guy for you today. Let's look at Chig Okonkwo from the Tennessee Titans. Right now he's being drafted as the 172nd player off the board overall, the tight end 22. So he's dirt cheap, he's borderline free, he's only 23 years old. He had a good rookie season. Austin Hooper's hitting free agency. Odds are he's not coming back. He had 6 games where he saw a 15% target share or higher. When Treylon Burks was out with injury, he was the man and he showed up and played well. He ranked 21st among tight ends with 449 receiving yards. However, he ranked 51st among tight ends in routes ran and 30th among tight ends in targets, which means he's been efficient. And how he's efficient is what he gets after the catch. He averaged 7.8 yards after the catch per reception. And he's able to do that due to his size-adjusted speed. We're talking about a tight end here with a 92nd percentile size-adjusted speed score who ran a 4.52 40-yard dash at 243 pounds. That is something you don't see every day. At this cost, he is worth the upside to shoot for. And now looking at the Dynasty Trade Analyzer here, he's worth around a late 3rd round pick here. When you're looking at rookie draft currency in 1 QB leagues, probably a little bit more in super flex. And then players that you can look at in this range to trade with: Paris Campbell, David Bell, Terrace Marshall, Cordell Patterson. Just look at players who are usually around the 3rd round range there in value. You'll probably be able to swig Chig Okonkwo in that deal. Look at him as a cheap player with a ton of upside at a scarce position. But if you can't get the deal done and you want another cheap tight end who is young, who can probably give you some baseline production for years to come, let's go to the New York Giants and let's look at Daniel Bellinger. He's only 22 years old and he had a good season this year. After coming back from injury, he saw 89% of the snaps and 85.1% route participation rate. During his 12 healthy games, though, he saw a 13% share of the receptions 11.1% target share, and 18.2% of the passing touchdowns. So he gets a lot of goal line work. He is getting a lower end of the target share though, but he's running routes. He's on the field. He's getting volume. The one thing you want to know about him is he's another athletic tight end. 88th percentile size adjusted speed score. 4.63 40-yard dash at 250 pounds. We like those young tight ends who can separate, who has athleticism, who has speed, who has burst. That allows you to capture that upside, getting those yards after the catch, getting that separation, getting used in the passing game. It's a good thing to note that he is running routes often on the field. But going to the Dynasty League trade analyzer here, he is also being valued as a late third-round pick. So similar players you want to look at for trades here, like a Jerick McKinnon, a Kenneth Gainwell, maybe a Tyquan Thornton, guys in the third-round range, maybe a guy in the mid-third-round range, somewhere around there. If you need to get the deal done, if you need to patch it up, Daniel Bellinger is a guy to look at. He's a cheap tight end who is on the rise and is developing currently. Also, the roster there, the depth chart, is very advantageous. There's not much competition, so they're going to allow him to develop going forward. If you need a veteran who's on the cheap, who can give you some baseline production that you don't have to pay up for, let's look at David Njoku at the Cleveland Browns. Right now he's being drafted as the 122nd player off the board in rookie drafts per Dynasty League Football's ADP, and as the tight end 13. He turns 27 in July, and he produced 6 tight end 1 weeks this year, and the volume was huge for a tight end. 18.2% target share, so he's getting good volume, 5.6 targets per game, and he also owns 17.6% of the red zone targets as well. So the opportunities of him scoring touchdowns each game is very high compared to other tight end prospects. He finished the season as the tight end 11 and averaged 10 fantasy points per game, missed some games due to injury. Imagine the point total would have been a little bit higher if he was on the field, but a player here that you can capture here at a discount. We're seeing a good discount here at the trade analyzer, being valued as an early third-round rookie pick, which is something good to see when you're looking at a player who can give you production at a rookie draft spot that is very volatile, has a low hit rate. Players that you could look for trading 1-for-1 are guys usually around third-round rookie pick value. Look at guys like Kadarius Toney, maybe even a Chase Claypool if you got to use a little bit more capital, maybe even an Alec Pierce type deal. A top-end third-round pick, low-end second-round rookie pick type of value is what you're looking at when you're trying to get the deal done for him. You might be able to catch a value for him later in the offseason when rookie drafts are on fire, when rookie fever sets in, and the value of these rookie picks increase. Look at him as a cheap veteran that you can get baseline production out of on the season going forward. But if you need a young guy that you just want to gamble on and you don't care, you're just going to throw your dollars in the air and just hope they land where they need to be, let's look at Trey McBride at the Arizona Cardinals. And he's that rookie gamble. He's the 130th player off the board right now per ADP, tight end 13, so he's very cheap. He's only 23 years old. He finished the season strong with an 84.8% snap share in his last 4 games and a 77.2% route participation week. He did have that one huge tight end 1 week where he was very productive. And also during that time, he had a 16% target share, was pretty good. Remember, he was the first tight end drafted in last year's draft, and he was very productive per a market share standpoint throughout his career at Colorado State. So there is some goods to his game. He's a good pass catcher. He's slick at running routes, so he can be productive in the passing game if there's volume there. And there could be in the future. If anything, he could be running routes, getting you some baseline production in the near future. On to the trade analyzer over at DynastyLeagueFootball.com. He is being valued as a mid-third round rookie pick, just like the rest of the guys here. A cheap player, not much to spend. You can trade guys like Michael Carter for him, Hunter Renfrow, DJ Chark, these volatile veterans here that are up and down in their career. You can send them away, get you a young tight end who can hold it down for you a little bit, or you can speculate and gamble on. He's a guy who's younger, who has some specs in his game that could allow him to blow up or just give you some decent production throughout his career. And he's a little bit of a gamble, but if you want to, there's some options for you. But if you want the young guy who did break out last year, but is kind of being slept on per ADP, per trade value, look at Greg Dulcich from the Denver Broncos. He's being drafted as the 10th tight end off the board. He's only 22 years old, caught 33 balls for 411 yards and 2 touchdowns. Missed some time due to injuries, but he had 5 tight end 1 weeks. He was productive, had 11 or more fantasy points in each of those tight end 1 weeks. So not only they were good, but he was able to get you some baseline production to help you out. Also saw an 18% target share and 11.3 average depth of target. So he's getting volume of targets and he's getting targets downfield. Both of those trend to fantasy production, which is something you want to see. If you played a full 16 to 18 games this year, he would have been easily top 10 among tight ends in production, which is something you want to see as a rookie, especially on this Broncos team. We know how that went the whole season. So Greg Dulcich really performed this year, and in trades, per the DLF Trade Analyzer, he's going for a song, and he's cheap for what we saw from a rookie. Mid-third round rookie pick on the analyzer. I imagine a lot of leagues he might be a little bit more, maybe a second, maybe a late second, maybe early third, but I know the price has got to be right for a guy here who's this young, who showed this much production. But per the analyzer, some guys that you could trade for: Michael Gallup, Kareem Hunt, Josh Palmer, and some other guys you can use as a gauge around that third round, late second round rookie pick value. So you can get a guy who's this young, who's been productive, who can help you out right now, and you can have him on your roster for years to come. Let's recap what we went over with these tight ends. The first tight end was TJ Hockenson. He's our bougie, expensive tight end. He's the cheapest of the top 5. He will get you production. He's in a great situation. Our next one was Chig Okonkwo. He's got a lot of upside, a lot of athleticism, and he's cheap. Another cheap tight end was Daniel Bellinger, rookie from last year. Saw some volume when he was on the field, running a lot of routes, and has some athleticism to bank on. David Njoku was our veteran that we're looking at on the cheap, who also gets a good target share, a good share of the targets in the red zone, and is a guy that we can bank on for baseline production. Then Trey McBride is our young rookie talent that we want to just gamble on. We're throwing some chips in the air, and we hope to land on them because he's got a lot of talent in his game. And then Greg Dulcich is the rookie here that had the breakout last year, that's being undervalued, that we can have on our teams for a long time, that you can trade for right now in your Dynasty leagues. Make sure you check dynastyleaguefootball.com and 4for4.com for your Dynasty fantasy football and your redraft needs. All kinds of great stuff over there. Tools, articles, all kinds of information. And I know you're looking to rebuild at the quarterback position. I know you're trying to find some quarterbacks to trade for. I got 4 of them right here on this video right there. Make sure you click that so you can get some knowledge on some quarterbacks that you can check out in your Dynasty Fantasy Football League. I want to thank you for watching. I'll catch you on the next video.